Greetings. This is Archangel Michael, and I will be helping to answer this question today about the feminine energy. The answer to the question is all of the above. And to understand how to work with the feminine energy and how to make a place in your life for the feminine energy, I am going to talk with you today about this question from the Kabbalistic perspective. Because the Kabbalah addresses this question specifically and provides some very interesting answers. From the Kabbalistic perspective, the divine feminine energy is alienated from the earth. Now, alienation means that it is not participating. Alienation means that it is, in a sense, disowned from the earth. And one of the reasons in Kabbalah why this world is broken, or why this world needs repair, is because the divine feminine has been exiled from the planet. But the Kabbalah provides some interesting guidance on how to solve this problem, and although it's perhaps a narrower perspective than the galactic perspective that you and I and the Arcturians are working with, nonetheless, it is a perspective that is worthy of our consideration and exploration. So, in Kabbalah, and actually in Judaism in general, the divine feminine energy returns on the Sabbath. That is the one day of the week when the divine feminine is hosted or is received in the home, in your home, or in the synagogue. Now, we could discuss whether or not the divine feminine can only come on the Sabbath, but let's find out what their thinking is. That what does the Sabbath mean in Kabbalah? And then we could explore further how to use that concept in the galactic energies that you and I and the Groupofforty are working with. The Sabbath is considered the day of rest, and it is considered a holy day. That means that one does not work on the Sabbath, one does not do any business on the Sabbath, and one devotes the Sabbath only to spiritual matters, only into working with the higher light, with the Creator. And this means that you will eat the finest foods that you can afford, you will have the finest festive dinner, you will be with your family, and you are creating a sacred space so that the divine feminine can come to you. Now, the word for the divine feminine in Hebrew is the Shekhinah, and you might have heard of that word. The Shekhinah means the divine feminine creator. Now, why is the divine feminine exiled And the answer is that man has become fascinated and focused on the third dimension. Man has become focused on making a living. Man has become focused on the materialism and the ego and gathering possessions. You know the story here because you know what it's like to work. And the idea is that the divine feminine is not going to come and reside with you when you are in that state of consciousness. You have to be in another state of consciousness. You have to be in an expanded state of consciousness where you are emphasizing sacred, where you are emphasizing the holiness. Now, this is another good question. How do you make holiness? How do you make sacredness? And yes, in the planetary city of light, you are creating a sacred space. And that is a perfect situation to invite the divine feminine. But you want to be in that state of consciousness. The divine feminine light, the Shekhinah, the Divine Mother, will come anywhere on the planet that you designate yourself, and you create a holy place. And that you act in a holy way, which in our definition means expanded consciousness, transcending the ego. These are the most important things, because you could be in the middle of a boat in the ocean, and if you can create that holy space, that sacred space, you could be in your home and have a special place, whether it be for the Sabbath or whether it be for a holy sacred energy that you want to work. The most important thing is that you are creating energetically this holy and sacred place. And that's the requirement. But let's look again at the Sabbath in the Kabbalah, because they look at the divine feminine almost like a bride. And the male energy is the groom, and the female energy is the bride. And then you are setting up a whole day, 24 hours. So it's not something that you do in 5 minutes. And I would say that to create a space for the Divine Mother, then you would set upon a time. And maybe even you would set upon yourself a ceremony that would welcome the divine feminine. The Native American peoples, especially the Lakota and others, have ceremonies that welcome the divine feminine, welcome white buffalo calf woman, and they are creating a sacred space in their teepee or in their medicine wheel. So it's up to you on how or in what tools you're going to use for creating the sacred space to receive the divine feminine. But remember, it has to be a commitment. It has to be a place where you have expanded consciousness. Now, what does it mean for the planet that the divine feminine is exiled? Well, put very simply, it means that the planet cannot be repaired until there is a recognition of the Divine Mother, the divine feminine light, the Shekhinah, and that the Shekhinah is accepted and integrated into our lives. But how and what would that look like? Well, this is a discussion that I'm very happy to have with you, because think about the masculine energies, which have been very domineering, especially in your lifetime, and think about the feminine energies. And what is the comparison? The feminine energies and the Shekhinah is more nurturing. It's more of a compassion. But it does require limitations. It does require expanded consciousness. It does require intuition. In other words, the divine feminine it requires a commitment in your spiritual development towards this type of spiritual expansion. And then you create a space. This is the problem that I think this planet is having, is that there's no place for the divine feminine. It's like everybody, I say everybody, that's not exactly true, but many people, especially people in power, are all devoted to the male energy, to the masculine energy, to control, domination, and power. But look, we're entering a new period. Some have said we're leaving one zodiac sign and going into the next. And the new period needs the input of the divine feminine light. But it needs it in a way that meets the criteria of commitment, ceremony, and sacredness.